A little disclaimer before the video. This was originally recorded back in the winter of 2023 after the suspect for the Dallas monkey theft was revealed to be my brother's former classmate, Davion Irvin, a character my brother had already told me several stories about that only added to the absurdity of the whole ordeal. At the time, we did not release the episode not wanting to interfere or harm Davion Irving's case in any way. At this point, Davion has been deemed unfit for trial due to reasons this podcast should illustrate. I wanted abundantly clear that this conversation is between me and my brother Atticus, and the stories told between brothers often go, we ham it up and have fun. We do not think Davion was malicious, and we only wish the best for him and hope that he is in a place where he gets the treatment he needs. Nothing in this podcast episode is meant to incriminate Davion, but instead show another side of the story that was only spread through serious news outlets and therefore could not show the more human, funny, and ultimately absurd events surrounding the release of a cloud leopard and abduction of 2 monkeys. We wish Davion only the best, and we are sure you will too. Now please join me as we meet Atticus Belota to discuss his experience with Davion Irving. Okay, so this is sort of a special episode because it's a little time sensitive because it's got to do what's been in the news, at least in the greater North Texas region.
And everywhere else, nobody cares.
Yeah, and it has to do with with my brother Atticus Belota, who's right here.
I'm an accomplice to the crime.
He's an accomplice to what was it?
Davion Irvin.
Irving. I can't remember the last one, but anyway, Atticus actually has experience with him. He went to school with him, and so he kind of wanted to be interviewed and talk about how the guy actually is.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Oh, so let's. Yes, the things that the news won't tell you, because they never met him before. But no. So yeah. So basically, what happened recently that's been in the news a little bit is first off, at the Dallas Zoo, a snow leopard was let out of its cage and was missing, and there was a search. The zoo was closed promptly, and there was like a search, I think, that went on for a few hours before they finally located it and were able to bring it back safely. And then a few weeks later, 2 monkeys, tamarin?
I think they were tamarin.
Yeah, tamarin monkeys went missing, and in just a very similar fashion, right? I think they said the wire cage that they were in was cut, and that's how somebody accessed it. But anyway, so there was a search for them, and eventually they got some kind of a link, I'm not sure exactly how, back to Davion, and then they found the 2 monkeys in a abandoned church near his home. And but anyway, he was arrested at Dallas World Aquarium not that long after, and apparently snooping around,
trying to find another exotic animal.
He's walking around with a fishbowl, grabbing out of the touch tanks. Just grabbing, taking
no, but he did have a bag of Doritos.
Yes, he did have a bag of Doritos, which is very interesting.
So you knew him from a music production class,
yes.
Right?
I'm a student at Cedar Valley College. I'm a part of their commercial music program, and I started, I guess, in the fall semester in 2022, and that's where I first met him. So yeah.
Yeah. So, what was your first coffee grinder in the background? What was your first experiences with Davion like?
Okay, so Davion was in my introduction to MIDI class, and he was there before anybody else showed up, even my professor. He was already in the classroom, just sitting there. And my first thought was, this guy is very intense and very interested in everything, a little too interested to the point where my professor could barely speak a lot of the time. My professor wanted everyone to, get to know each other, and he wanted us to all know our names and everything, our full names or whatever, something about the music industry and how it's important for people to know your names, that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. So he every time Davion Irving would speak, he would ask him to say his full name. So Davion would always say it very loudly in a very like, and he'd draw each name out, like each part of his name out as far as he went. So it was Davion Irvin, like very, very
And this
slowly.
went on continually throughout the course? Or?
Yeah, for the majority, basically every class, he would do that at some point. He'd ask some question or interrupt in some way, and then they would ask him to do that, or then to say his name, full name, and that's how he would reply. But there were some things I noticed that were a little off about him, just a little different compared to like your normal person, right? Who's 24 years old in college. For one thing, my professor was discussing albums and the process of making an album and having that album published out and distributed out publicly to people. And in that conversation, he just raised his hand up in the air and goes, "I don't know what an album is." Like, he never heard of the idea or concept of taking a bunch of songs and putting them together in a track-listed set project. Like, he'd never heard of that before in his life. And that was, I don't know, it was just a little odd, a little shocking. I didn't know exactly how to take him. I didn't know if he was just not very smart. I didn't know if he was maybe on the spectrum somewhere. I didn't know if he was possibly, I don't know, just on drugs, something like that, right? You just couldn't really tell. He'd do this where he would, when a professor was speaking and would ask, for instance, one of my professors was talking about using Logic Pro and, just very basics, going over that. And in the middle of the conversation, or my professor's lecture, he just raised his hand and he goes, "Oh, I don't know how to use Logic Pro. I've never done that before." And my professor was like, "Oh, well, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here to teach you." He's like, "Okay, that's really good because I don't know how to use it. I've never used it before."
So when we first started talking about it, when he first kind of got arrested, for one, I was sitting in McDonald's and you texted me the article and said you knew the guy and stuff.
Right.
But you kind of were like, you're not quite sure that people like understand how he is. So do you think he was like malicious in this, or I mean, based on what you know?
Yeah,
I guess. Or you kind of seemed like it was more like he's just kind of a confused guy.
For sure. I think at least one article I read was talking about the animals being like sold for money, kind of like thing, which I really highly doubt that. Mostly because he did steal microphones from our school, which makes you stop and think like, well, there's more evidence that he might be that kind of a person. But the reason why I don't think that is because he had the option of there was a bunch of different microphones there, and the microphone he took was about a $200 microphone, and there was a ribbon microphone also there that he could have taken that was about $3,000.
Yeah,
and he just didn't have that capacity to like understand that thing. Like, at least that's how it appeared. Like, I don't know for sure, but yeah.
Yeah, because you mentioned there were a lot of things where it was just kind of like not basic, like what would you go, human sort, or not human, but just kind of like basic knowledge, kind of basic behavioral.
Right, yeah,
stuff.
for sure.
Like,
yeah, I remember during one of my classes, he had like a really runny nose, and he kept like making as like much noise he could, like snorting. Like, it was so loud. It was so like, it was the most obnoxious thing I've ever heard in my entire life. It was so loud. And my professor just turns to him and goes, "You're a grown man." He's like, "You can deal with it. You can deal with this." And or he's like, "You need to go blow your nose right now." He just got up and left the class and never came back. Like, that was just it.
And there was the story about you and Taco Bell.
Oh yeah.
As well, that you told me.
So one thing that happened was, in one of, I can't remember. Oh yeah, we were being showed where we could vote for midterm elections, and so everybody was in a group and we were walking, and he started talking to me. He asked me how I got so tall, and that he wanted to be tall. And he was like, "Oh, you're pretty tall. You know, you must eat a lot." I'm like, "I mean, I eat like a normal amount." And then he asked me, "You know, what do I eat the most? What's my favorite food?" And I told him, I'm like, "I like Taco Bell. I eat a lot of Taco Bell." So from that, he determined that I gotta start eating Taco Bell. That way I can get taller. I think he said something. He's like, "Yeah, I'm trying to get taller." He's like, "I'm gonna have to start eating more Taco Bell."
So anyway, if you would, I'm trying to think how to phrase this, like, what would your thoughts be on why he would be like motivated to steal these animals, if any?
Well, I think it's like with the microphones, right? It's like somewhat of like a klepto kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think he doesn't understand, like, there are consequences to what he's doing. I think, like, with the microphones, I think he just wanted that microphone.
Yeah.
And wanted to record with
Especially
it. I don't think,
since, like, it was common knowledge the microphone next to it is worth, like, $3,000.
Yeah, exactly, right? I
Yeah.
think he just wanted this microphone to record with it. I bet you he didn't even think there'd be any kind of consequence to him doing that at all.
Yeah.
Right? Because he brought that one back and tried to take a different one. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like it's not, like, that's just, you know what I mean? It's like he's borrowing it like that. And I
Yeah.
think he just saw the monkeys and wanted a monkey. It's just crazy, but I really do believe that. Like, it's just difficult for me to,
Yeah.
like, comprehend that any kind of malicious...
Cause that's the thing is, like, what you've said of him and also some of his comments, it's like, I don't think he's, like, trying to steal and trade exotic animals.
Yeah.
You know? Because, like, there was, like, a quote from him that was like, "I love these animals, and if you let me out, I will steal them again."
Yeah, like, I think it's kind of like that child... It's kind of like a childlike mind. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was probably
It's
just he just wanted to let them free.
Like, as a kid, like, you see monkeys and you're like, I want that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me. I'm the only one here who would steal a monkey if I could. If I was allowed to, I would help Davion. I'd break him out of prison, and we would go back and steal more monkeys together. Yeah. Yeah, I'm starting my campaign now, the Free Davion Irvin campaign. He's innocent. He did nothing wrong. He just wanted a monkey. The zoo should give him the monkeys because he just wanted them so bad and put in all that effort to get them, and you're just going to take him away?
Yep.
That's not fair.
Listen, if we all steal the monkeys, they can't arrest all of us.
Exactly. If we all do it together, they can't stop each of us.
And on that note, free Davion, steal the monkeys.
Have a good night.
I see trees of green, red roses too.